Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. First item of business is a notice, two notices actually. At a regular meeting on March 28th, council will consider a bylaw to set the 2017 budget. And second notice, council will hold a public meeting on April 4th concerning a proposed zoning amendment application at 50 Government Road West. Before we start the official meeting, we'll have a moment of silence, please. Approval of the agenda.
It's moved by Councillor Barker and seconded by Councillor Kiley that Council approves the agenda for its regular meeting of March 21st, 2017, with the addition under petitions and delegations, Ontario Clean Water Agency, Anthony Donny, re-water issues.
All in favor? Thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Anybody declare? Seeing none, thank you. Petitions and delegations. First delegation will be Friends of Interlink, be Marshall Thompson, who is the coordinator of Friends of Interlink, Intergenerational Day, May 11th, 2017. Please come on up.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Marshall Thompson, and I represent Interlink, which is a intergenerational choir. Some of you may have heard of us. We've been in Kirkland Lake for the past 26 years, and we've been kind of set on our own this year. Canadian Mental Health used to look after us. We have taken it on ourselves to keep this group going. We figure that it is an essential part of Kirkland Lake for the seniors and for the grade 5 students from Central Public School. We would like to take this opportunity to ask if the day of our closing concert would be designated as Intergenerational Day by you and the Council. What this entails is we would advertise this on the radio station closer to the concert date. It is our intention to approach the radio station to advertise this special day designated by you to promote concert attendance and to develop an awareness and appreciation in our community for the goals and problems that our young people and our seniors have in these trying days. Our concert day this year will be May the 11th. We would also advertise this special designation day on our programs and in any way that we advertise. And I'm hoping that Council will approve this for us. And I'll keep it short, and that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you very much. Should we read that first and then open it to questions? Okay, so we'll just read the resolution and then we'll open it to questions and comments, please. Yep.
It's moved by Councillor Kiley and seconded by Councillor Barker that Council recognizes the Interlink Choir as a unique annual intergenerational program that bring together Central Public School grade 5 students with seniors in our community through the celebration of words and music, and that Council of the Town of Kirkland Lake declares the day of the closing musical concert, May 11th, 2017, as Intergenerational Day in and for the Town of Kirkland Lake.
Okay, any comments or questions, please, from the Councillor Mino?
Brings back memories. My daughter went through that about 20 years ago, so quite pleased to support this for sure. It had a lot of the long-lasting value system for my daughter. She spoke of Mrs. Acton a few years ago, so that's how long that name stayed with her, because that was her partner in crime for that session. So yes, I certainly would support this, and you know what, it's a long time coming that we would actually have a day for this to recognize that fact. You have a long-standing history, and I'm certainly in favor of that.
Thank you.
Councillor Chamayard?
Yeah, as two ex-teachers, we know the value of this. It's an awesome project. Some of the kids stay friends with their partners for a long time after. I would approve it for sure. I would support this, sorry, for sure. Great project.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I just want to make a comment. Both of my children were part of the Interlink, and it certainly was a very enriching experience for both of them. I mean, and what Councillor Chamillard said, the friendships lasted a long time, and to this day, when they see that you know, person on the street, there's always a discussion that ensues. So, yeah, hats off.
Thank you.
So, we'll call it to a vote then. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next delegation, Heart and Stroke Foundation. We have Linda Horn for Big Bike for Stroke.
Good afternoon. I'm Linda Horn, the area coordinator for the Heart and Stroke Foundation. Usually we just send in a letter. I wanted to come and personally introduce myself and meet everybody and get approval for the big bike that day, the Heart and Stroke Foundation big bike, and also the route. Also, I'm also putting a challenge out to each of my communities that the big bike is going in. I'd love to see each town and the council take part on a bike and see which community has the most community spirit. You could pick a theme for your bike, get 29 riders, and just come on out and have a really great day, a great time. It's the same route that we've always used. It'll have the OPP officer again with them. I'm working that, and it's going to be leaving from the Legion. Right now, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, our goal, every 7 minutes, one Canadian life is taken by heart disease and stroke. Our goal right now is a 10% reduction in risk factors of heart disease and stroke by 2020, or a 25% reduction in death rate of heart disease and stroke by 2020. That's our new goals right now. I know a lot of people wonder locally what we do. Locally, here we do with our Jump Rope for Heart program. The schools get free skipping ropes. They get, when they participate in Jump Rope for Heart, they get money back from their fundraising, which they use for gym equipment and other school supplies. I do presentations to local businesses. I'm trying to rebuild the exposure of heart and stroke in Kirkland Lake to know that we are here. So I'm available to do any presentations or anything like that, provide materials on heart and stroke to any businesses or local organizations. So that's one of the things we do locally. Another area that Heart and Stroke has been really working on since the mid-1990s to 2000 is stroke. Stroke used to be considered not an emergency. You were basically taken to the emergency and they put you somewhere comfortable, and then they dealt with this after effects of stroke. But now with Heart and Stroke Foundation funding and research, they discovered the drug TPA, which can basically stop a stroke. And then they funded for getting together the stroke experts to make the Ontario Stroke Network. In our area, the northeastern area, we do have a district stroke center. It is at Timmins District Hospital. So if people do have symptoms of a stroke, they can go right there and they're able to get contact with a neurologist 24 hours a day and have the administration of TPA. A lot of people don't know that we have those facilities, but we do. And this is what we're working on and expanding on with the Heart and Stroke. And things like Big Bike and the fundraising from Big Bike helps with the research, helps with promoting recovery and fighting for prevention, things like getting kids active and promotional materials and advocacy. So I hope you guys will do a bike and come in. Sorry, I'm very nervous. Usually I'm over there at the media table.
That's great. No, thank you very much, Linda. What we'll do is we'll just read the resolution, and then we may have some comments or questions, okay?
Perfect. It's moved by Councillor Barker and seconded by Councillor Kiley that council approves the request from the Heart and Stroke Foundation to hold the Big Bike event on May 8th, 2017.
Okay, any comments or questions from anybody? Well, what we'll do is we'll leave it with Joanne. Joanne is our master of council as far as organizing any councillors to be on the Big Bike.
Perfect.
And then she'll be in touch with you to see as we get closer to that date.
Awesome.
Okay, and so I'll call it for a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Linda.
Have a great day.
Okay, third delegation is Anthony Dana from the Ontario Clean Water Agency, who's going to give us an update. Welcome, Anthony.
Hey, everyone. All right. So I understand there's a little bit of noise here on social media about the water, about the brown water. So I just kind of want to go through what exactly is going on. I want to go through maybe possible solutions moving forward, and I also want to kind of address, some of the the fears, I guess, that people are trying to bring up, right? So let me just start by saying, the water is safe. So in town here, we take 5 bacteriological samples, and they're performed each week in the distribution system, 2 at the water plant as well. We also take 8 chlorine residuals and per week within distribution system. Typically, they're under 1 milligram per liter of chlorine. So I don't know if that means anything to you, but that's the standard kind of thing in this industry. Okay, so I'd kind of like to go through, how this iron and manganese is kind of formed in the lake in the first place, right? So it's a little bit of a complex thing, so hopefully I don't lose you. But basically we got the, for example, in the summertime, right? We got a connection between the water and the atmosphere, right? And so the waves are rolling, oxygen is getting into the water, and basically it's making something called, it's providing dissolved oxygen to that water, right? So all the little organisms that are living in that lake, they're all kept quite happy with that oxygen. They use it for doing whatever processes they do, right? It's just totally natural. We get the, so now winter comes along, right? We get an ice layer on top of that lake, and now all of a sudden, all those little organisms are still there. They're still doing their things, but now oxygen starts to become in short supply, right? So now they begin to say, where can I get oxygen? They begin to look to other places, right? So within the bottom of the lake, we have this iron and manganese, which is in a solid form. So if you looked at it, you would see it's black and brown and whatever. So these little organisms, they then begin to take the oxygen molecule from those iron and manganese molecules, kind of thing, right? So they grab it, they steal it, they use it for their process, and this here iron and manganese are freed. So now they become liquid form. So if we were to go and take like a sample of that water and we were to look at it, it would be perfectly clear. You wouldn't know anything was in there unless you brought it to the lab and had it analyzed, right? So perfectly clear. So now you've got this water. It's got iron and manganese because of that ice cover. The water plant then pulls that out of the water intake, right? So it goes into the water plant, and so it passes through the filtration process, right? So it goes through something called conventional treatment. So it's very, very common across the world. The problem here is that this system is designed to take out organics, and it's not really designed to take out iron and manganese. So water passes through the system, goes through the filter, and then as we send that water out to the distribution system, we add chlorine. So the ministry says you must add chlorine. Chlorine is what is kind of a barrier for us, right? So it says, the ministry says you must add chlorine. It makes the water safe for human consumption, right? Make sure there's no pathogens or bacteria. The side effect of that is that this is an oxidant. So essentially what it does is it enables that iron and manganese to revert back to that solid form. So now we send it out to the distribution system, and now it begins to revert. And so that process is dependent on a number of things, and some of them include pH, they include temperature can affect it, flow can affect it, and the chlorine residual can affect it. So, and there's other parameters as well. So away it goes in the distribution system, and often, depending on flows, it hasn't even converted to the solid form yet. And it may, say for example, if one part of town is drawing lots of water one day, it will begin to come out of solution in that part of town. And so that's why you'll often hear people say, hey, I've got dirty water in a certain part of town. It makes no sense. And maybe another day they've got another part of town. It makes no sense. It's because it's converting in the pipes as it's being sent, kind of thing, dependent on flow and other parameters. Okay, so this stuff settles in the pipes, and it's been doing that for years, of course, right? So now we're seeing, the pipes have built up a little bit with this here iron manganese over the years. The solution moving forward, the only solution really, to fix this is to remove that over the long term, right? So what we've been doing here, we've been looking at a few solutions moving forward, and we don't really have conclusive information just yet, but right now we're seeing a very, very strong correlation between the level of the water and dissolved oxygen, which is typically at the lower levels. We're seeing the iron and manganese is very heavy in the lower levels, and the upper levels we're seeing that the iron and manganese is much less. So one of the options that we're considering is maybe raising that intake pipe. But we need more information first. We have Aqua Engineering. Aqua Engineering is helping with this, helping to find a solution. Another solution may be to optimize the process ahead of the filters in a different way. That would help to oxidize if we can't alter that water intake successfully. We're working very, very hard. I just want to put that across. It's, I think that the message that we've received from social media, it's loud and clear. We've heard it. The people want the water fixed, and we're working very hard to do it. I think the best way for people to kind of voice a complaint is to call the Town Works Department, and we can kind of work with Town Works to address that issue. Maybe we can visit the residents where the problem is. It would be very helpful. I mean, I don't think it's helpful at all with the stuff that's been going through social media. To us, anyway, it doesn't really aid us in finding a solution at all. Okay, so now I've also heard grumblings about people getting rashes from the water. This is not something that I don't think this is happening. This is not something that I really believe. But if someone has a concern, I want them to call Town Works so we can go and investigate the water at the residence. You know what I mean? I guess that's the main message I want to drive home. Please call Town Works. I think that's about all I have. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Or...
Yeah, I'm just going to open it to questions. Jean-Guy?
Thanks, Anthony, for coming. And I don't envy your position, believe me. Would it be better if we could leave the part of the lake open during the winter? Like, make sure it doesn't freeze, get oxygen in there?
Yeah, so that's something we actually considered. So oxidizing the iron, you may be able to address the iron that way. The manganese is extremely stubborn. So, we considered, having bubblers or something like that. The manganese is just too stubborn.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really stubborn stuff. Yeah.
Is there a way also to clean the pipes, or it's a costly process, I guess?
Yeah, you know what? I think step number one is get that water that's going into the pipes clean, right? Once we can do that, all the other problems will begin to subside. Over time, right? But step number one is get that water so there's no more iron manganese.
Is there a part of the town that seems worse than others, or is it goes?
You know what? I really I don't know if I can answer that. I think Donnie Parcher would probably have a better grasp of that, but I would say it's probably a system-wide problem.
Because I knew McKelvey and McCamus was bad last year, and I think it's still not fixed. But we're trying to get there. But it's so costly, it's ridiculous. But slowly getting there. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, Councillor Kiley?
Yeah, Anthony, thank you for coming out today. Just want to make a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I know in Eric's last report there was less complaints. I think there's less complaints that you're hearing about, but social media has changed. More people are going on there and making comments and complaining. Yes, some of it's a little off the wall, but generally speaking, I don't think the complaints are down. It seems this year, the fact that we're getting the dirty water, it's early. We haven't flushed the system. Usually when we flush the system, it does occur for a couple of days. So, perhaps, for Aqua to get the, get it from the horse's mouth, maybe on Facebook or some other, method of communication where people could go online and report this to you, or I realize we do have the town, website as well, but, you might get more feedback than just the grumbling that's on Facebook. I know some of it's a little difficult to take, but there are a lot of meaningful comments as well, so. You talked about moving the pipe upwards. I talked to Eric the other day, and he said it could be moved upwards, or possibly because of the high content of manganese and iron, is moving the intake pipe itself. This is a little early at this stage, but I know he also said that there was somebody coming up from engineering in the first week of April, I believe. So we'll get a second opinion, and hopefully we'll get some results out of that.
Yeah, Pat, for sure, yeah. And so what we've got here, so I do have some analysis results from the lake. So what we did is we kind of took samples from different levels. We went 4 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, 15, 20, and 25. And so we can see a clear definition, you know, with the iron manganese increasing as we go down, and we can see a correlation, correlating DO dropping, right? I guess, you know, we want to make sure that we sample many more times before we say, yeah, this is the definite solution, right? In speaking with engineering, they're saying there may be some other issues with moving the intake up. We want to make sure we kind of, you know, make sure what we're doing is the right thing to do. Right?
Any thoughts why it's earlier this year and more prevalent than previous years?
I don't know.
There's no.
I don't know. I mean, one of the things that we've done here is we replaced the high lift pumps at the water plant, and so these new high lift pumps, the startup and stop frequency is a little bit different, and so you know, we're looking into this right now. We had a programmer in there today, trying to change this kind of startup and stopping sequence or frequency kind of thing. What we're afraid of here is it may be just disturbing that water just a little bit on the startup and then stopping, right? So, you know, I think you know, that may be an impact, but I'll tell you, there's so many different variables. It's very difficult for me to kind of say, you know, what might be making it worse this year than others.
Well, we know Aqua's working hard at it, and as Jean-Guy said, it's not an easy fix, so keep plugging.
Yeah. Our goal is to fix it for sure. Yep.
Councilor Mino?
Well, I'm glad you're here, because that's certainly, hopefully, people listening to YouTube are going to get a more sort of scientific approach to this, because it seems to be, science should be the prevailing sort of argument here. And my question, you know, like when the water is actually brown, does the testing change? Is that water still drinkable, and does it smell different? You know, when it's actually brown. So if I'm having a glass of brown water, am I safe?
Yeah, so the ministry has laid out standards for us, right? So the standards in Ontario for iron. So now let me just make it clear that these standards are really aesthetic thresholds. So they're not health thresholds. The health thresholds, they would be very, very high. So in the concentrations that we're seeing here in town, they're very low. You know, relative to aesthetics, they're right around the Ontario threshold, right? So in Ontario, 0.03 is the aesthetic threshold for iron, and 0.05 is the aesthetic threshold for manganese in milligrams per liter. So that's kind of some, I don't know if it makes sense, but those are, we're typically seeing numbers under that in the distribution system, right? So if we were to analyze that water, we would see all kinds of things in there, right? minerals and metals and all kinds of things in very low concentrations. Just the same as the iron manganese. The difference is the iron manganese is very visible, right? And you know, it's simply very visible.
So aesthetically, yes, it's a concern, but to consume it would not be a health hazard
No,
at all?
no,
whatsoever.
Yeah, it's aesthetic issue. It's an aesthetic issue, 100%. Yeah.
So you can confirm to me, as an aqua specialist, that I'm drinking water that's up to par in terms of the standards of the province.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. The other thing, Anthony, is it was mentioned in the report I read about the potash, is it?
So this,
Where are we with that?
yeah. So when I read, so the potash is something I think that came up on Facebook. So it's not potash; it's something called soda ash.
Soda ash, okay.
And so what we're trying to do here with the soda ash, so we have pre-chlorine in the water plant, right? So we're attempting to oxidize that iron and manganese before it gets to the filters. The problem is that iron manganese is very pH dependent, right? So with the soda ash, which is basically baking soda, we're trying to increase that pH, which will aid that oxidation process. We've had success with the iron, but the manganese component is very, very stubborn, you know? You know, soda ash, we've had some success, but it's limited, you know what I mean? I think if we can look at something else, it may be the right way to go, right? Yeah.
But
soda ash is-
you're also accountable to the ministry if you're going to do any kind of
Yeah.
experimenting with changing the.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So the way that works, any process changes that we make, we have to get approval from the ministry. So they're very, very strict on what you can do, right? Everything, any process change needs to be approved, and usually they're tried, tested, and true in other municipalities first before we can ever, you know, use them.
My last thing was, like, I'm one of those guilty people that didn't report it because it happened to me once last year. Ran the water for 5 minutes and it was gone, and then it happened last Saturday as well, at my place anyways. And so I didn't report that, but how are you supposed to report it if it goes away? Like, would you still want somebody to come and test the water at that point, because it's clear now, right?
Yeah. I think it's kind of interesting to know, even if a person were to call and say, I had some dirty water, and it only happened for maybe, you know, 5 minutes or something like that, and then it went away.
That's my case.
I think that's maybe not bad information to have for us, right? So then we can kind of pinpoint maybe the problem areas, right?
Okay, thank you.
Shunky?
Anthony, just one more question, I think. Never know.
Yeah.
I know lots of places around the world, they have boiling water advisory. So who in town would declare this? I guess you would declare this, or the town declares this, or you tell us?
So boil water advisories are related to bacteriological events, right? So say for example, if, you know, in the samples that we perform in town, you know, number of them every week, if we were to see something, an indicator organism there, that would dictate that we have to take precautions, right? Also, if, for example, if there was a water main break and we thought there might be a risk of bacteria being introduced, we'd go and call on a boil water advisory. For something like this, boil water advisory is just not, it wouldn't help you, you know?
So my point is this, is when the water is bad, like Norm was saying, it looks bad, but it's not bad.
It looks bad, it's perception, it's all
Yeah,
perception.
it's perception. When it's bad, you will advertise and tell us, hey,
You
do
got
not drink the water, you have to boil it before you drink it.
Absolutely. Yeah. If the water's bad, you'll know it. There'll
Yeah.
be notices on your door, and there'll be no minced words, right?
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Anthony.
Yeah.
Counselor Barker?
I think it's important to reiterate the fact that it needs to be reported. Facebook's a great tool, but the ministry has guidelines in place, and we need to abide by those so that the health and safety of our residents can be kept as priority. So I just want to remind everyone to report their brown water by calling into the Works Department. It's a process that's in place because it needs to be in place and it needs to be followed. Facebook's great for quick information, but it needs to be reported to the town for accuracy purposes.
Any other comments? Okay, I just have a couple of things, Anthony. I just wanted to elaborate on what Tom said, because I had a similar thought. You know, social media is here to stay. I understand that. I'm not a big fan, but the reality is that social media is an evolving animal, and you know, it's Facebook today, it's Snapchat tomorrow, it's whatever. And I don't think that we can be chasing that information. We need to have people call into the Works Department or use the 311 facility that we have. We've set it up. It's very efficient, and it's, you know, it doesn't take any time. You can do it in your basement with your pajamas on. It's not, you know, all of those things. So I really want to focus on people following those channels. We've made it very, very easy for people, and that saves, you know, us spending a whole bunch of staff time chasing social media all over the different platforms, because there's many. The other thing I wanted to reiterate is that we have spent a significant amount of money getting ahead of our infrastructure in this municipality. We've taken it very, very seriously. We have absolutely prioritized the whole Park Street Basin, which includes McKelvey and McCamus and all those streets up there. We recognize it as a high priority area, and we're, you know, doing everything we can. But people need to realize that funding for infrastructure is different for funding from other projects that we may do, whether it's civic or what have you. You know, just because we're successful in getting a funding for a specific project doesn't mean that those dollars should miraculously be rediverted to infrastructure. That's just not the way it works. It'd be wonderful if it did, but it doesn't. But we have made, I mean, we've come all the way up from Queen Street now. We're up to, I think, Poplar, and, you know, with any luck, we'll be well on our way up to McKelvey and McCamus later this year. Actually, I think, because I think I covered that. Yeah. That's right, yeah. I mean, it's, yes, there's some areas where we've got some sediment issues in the pipes, but that's not what we're talking about tonight. So, just want to thank you again, Anthony. This has been very, very insightful and very, hopefully a lot of people, you know, another media through YouTube, that they watch this, and hopefully we've been able to educate people and make them feel more comfortable that in fact our water system is being kept to a very, very high standard, and that we're all very, very serious about getting to the bottom of this issue. And the other thing I wanted to mention, because of this approval process with the ministry, people need to realize that this is going to be a slow process. I mean, we can't turn this around on a dime. And everybody is working diligently to get to the bottom of this. But at the end of the day, the water is safe, and everything possible is being done about it. So I just wanted to leave it at that. Oh, Councillor Kiley?
Just one comment on the streets that are being done. Nancy clarified the last day or so, O'Meara Boulevard is being done this year, and McKelvey, I believe, is slated for next year, provided we get the funding.
We've done all the way up, as Councillor Morgan said, we have to do the bottom first, the bigger pipe coming up. We've gone from Queen Street, Comfort, up all the way up past Poplar, Park, and now we're at the point in Park where the next project we can put out is McKelvey. Once McKelvey's done, we can move up to McCamus, and we're also coming in at the other end of O'Meara to do that end, because there's some problem areas at that end that we recognize. The other thing about this is we usually see this in February and a little bit of March, then it kind of goes away. And it's, you know, it's a temporary thing. It's not an all-year thing that happens unless we have a fire that disturbs things. If we have pumps changed at the water station, or the tower has to be let out and cleaned, and, you know, those kind of things, we'll see this. But usually it's sort of gone when the ice comes off the water. So it is a temporary thing. And we do, as Councillor Barker said, encourage people to call. We can't come, we don't know, and we can't come out there and help you and test your water or resolve your problems for you unless you call us and let us know, because we don't follow everybody on Facebook. You know, and there's a lot of inaccurate information out there as well. So please call us, and we're more than willing to come out and help. And and look at your system for you, do testing if necessary, and we want to make this problem go away as well.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Hey, thank you. Hey, thanks.
Okay, acceptance of minutes and recommendations.
It's moved by Counselor Kiley, seconded by Counselor Barker, that council accepts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held March 7th, 2017.
All in favor? Thank you. Reports, municipal officers and communications. Councillor Norm Mino.
Yeah, I'm on the agenda to give you a sort of a progress report as to how we're going to replace our present CAO. At this point in time, council and the committee that's been formed to advise council on this has agreed that the process will involve no searching of a headhunting firm to do this process for us. So we've eliminated that sort of option. It's going to be done by the town with the very good assistance of our clerk treasurer, or sorry, our clerk, Joanne, and also our HR clerk that we have downstairs. So that's the decision that council has done at this point in time. We're also finalizing the job descriptions of this position because obviously Nancy had been in the job for, what, 12 years? So 12 years, so now we kind of freshened it up and we're trying to make sure that it includes all the new aspects that we're dealing with and all the sort of desirable qualities and competences that this job entails. We're also preparing a job ad that got to be approved by council, of course, before we go to the next level. And so that job ad would probably be inclusive of some of these preferred job description, you know, and so on, in terms of the educational component and the experience and all that. So that's in the process, and that will be coming out very shortly. And the other aspects as well as to when we move into the interview process and when we move into the actual sort of shortlisting and all that, that's not been discussed yet, but that we will be tackling that problem. And it is also recommended that we get an outside source on the interview committee, in other words, somebody else from the community that would sit on these interview committee to give us that community perspective as well. So that's in the works. Obviously, this is a time-consuming and sort of hard challenge to give specific dates. My personal preference would be to shoot for September, if that's doable. But we've got summer holidays, we've got difficulty meeting people, getting together under one roof and at the same time. So those are the challenges we have to face. And also we have the fact that we're going to be going externally as well as internally. So we might be drawing candidates from all over the place. So that could be a logistic thing in terms of shortlisting. So that's where we're at right now. But I can assure the public that this process is ongoing and we will have a successful candidate, I would believe, by hopefully September. Todd, you want to add to that, or?
No, I think you covered all the bases, Norm. Just that it's a broad-based approach and that will be advertised globally. And I think just open it to questions from councillors if anybody has any questions. If not, we'll move on to the next item. Just we'll be continuing to update the public as we go through the process. So, okay, next item is the clerk.
The first request is from Northern College. 2017 is their 50th anniversary year, so they have all kinds of special events and activities that are planned throughout the community, and they're asking council to please proclaim April 3rd to 7th as their anniversary week. So I have a motion for that.
Okay, we'll just read the resolution, then we'll open the floor to questions.
It's moved by Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Kiley. The Council of the Town of Kirkland Lake declare April 3rd to 7th, 2017 as Northern College 50th Anniversary Week.
Okay, comments or questions? I just want to comment on the 50th anniversary of Northern College. I mean, this was a, huge milestone in the history of Kirkland Lake, having essentially one of the very first, if not the first, colleges in Ontario. So I think it's very valid that we celebrated. It was the first campus in the Northern College system, and I think it's a real feather in our cap to be celebrating this. So anyhow, so we'll call a vote. All in favor? Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is from Canadian Mental Health Association. They have their Canadian Mental Health Week in May, and this year in Kirkland Lake, they're asking us to do something different, and that is to have the lights at the Kirkland Lake entrance sign, east and west, and also at Miners Memorial, to have a green filter over it to commemorate their Shine Green for Canadian Mental Health.
Okay, want to read the resolution?
It's moved by Councillor Kiley, seconded by Councillor Barker. The council declares May 1st to 7th, 2017 as Mental Health Week in and for the town of Kirkland Lake, and that council approves the request from the Canadian Mental Health Association to apply a green filter to the lights at east and west entrance signs to Kirkland Lake and the Miners Memorial Monument.
Any comments or questions? Just one question about the logistics, Nancy, about the filter. Is that significant, or is that easily doable?
We're gonna contact our works department about it, but CMHC is the ones who are going to actually place the filter,
Oh.
so we'll connect them up and make sure that it's
Okay.
workable.
Okay, just so people know. All right, all in favor? Thank you.
The next request is from the Ladies Auxiliary, the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 87. They're requesting to hold a parade permit or parade from the Canadian Legion to the Cenotaph during their convention.
Okay, get you to read the resolution.
It's moved by Councillor Barker and seconded by Councillor Kiley. The council approves a parade permit for the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 87 Ladies Auxiliary for Sunday, May 7th, 1 to 2 p.m., marching from the Legion to the Cenotaph and return.
Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
The next item is also from the Canadian Mental Health Association. This is their third Ride, Don't Hide event that they're holding in Kirkland Lake. Over the last 2 years, they have raised over $20,000 in this event, and they're looking to do it again in 2017.
Okay.
So the motion is from Councillor Kiley, moved by Councillor Kiley, seconded by Councillor Barker, that council approves the Canadian Mental Health Ride, Don't Hide event on June 25th, 2017.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you.
The last item I have here is a resolution from the town of Latchford. They're looking for the town of Kirkland Lake support. This has to do with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry and the Northeastern Ontario Bear Management Association, and they're looking for help in petitioning for fair and equitable distribution of the license validation tags. This came to us, and I did send it out, and I was asked to put it on the agenda by Councillor Kiley. I don't know if there's any comments.
Would you like to comment, Councillor
Sure.
Kelly? Okay.
Councillor Shamiard and myself attended the Temiskaming TMA meeting, and they did a presentation. They want to be more involved with the Ministry of Natural Resources in the bear management program, and one of their concerns was how many licenses that are allotted to different tourist outfitters, and the numbers have got totally ridiculous, lowered, that most people in that business will not survive. They do rely on American tourists, plus Canadian tourists as well, but that's not the only function that they have. They're more interested in sustaining the bear management program and making sure that to cut down on the number of incidents like we've had here in past years of bears coming into your backyard and into your garbage, and having M&R people available to pick these animals up. So that's part of what they're pushing for and looking for support.
Councillor Barker?
Yep.
Just to add to that, I know that there's quite a few individuals in town that have been negatively impacted by the changes made by the ministry, and so I fully support this because it is affecting our residents as well from a monetary perspective.
Counselor Schemeier.
Yeah, the number that the ministry had was totally ridiculous. So they told us from 100 square kilometers, so here from Lister to Matachewan to Kirkland Lake, for example, there was only 5 bears. They have 5 bears per 100 square kilometers. I don't know where they go, but there's 5 in town, I told them, so. I mean, it's the same thing for the moose. They have numbers that I don't know where they come from with, or they come up with, but, I mean, if you go to any dump around here, there'll be 25 bears running around. So, I support this.
Okay, any other comments before I go on a rant? Anybody else? I mean, this is just another example of, you know, absolutely asinine approach to dealing with both the bear population and then the fake, you know, reintroduction of the bear hunt. I mean, it was nothing but a fraud from day one. The fact that they restricted entirely non-resident tags the first year or two, when in reality, the only people who hunt bears are tourists for the most part. There's very few local people that actually do it. It's a huge economic benefit for a lot of our small rural recreational communities in the area. And I mean, it's just such an elegant solution to solve 2 problems at once. 1, control the bear population, and 2, help out our communities and the outfitters that rely on this industry. So, I mean, you know, once again, you got bears marauding all through schoolyards and neighborhoods and what have you. And, you know, people at Queen's Park just stick their head in their sand and pretend that they're doing something when in fact they're doing the opposite. So, totally in favor. Let's call this to a vote. All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Okay, Director of Community Services, Bonnie, Winter Carnival 2017.
Wanted to give everyone an update on the success of Winter Carnival once again. At the end of my report, I start off with kind of the best news that once again, Winter Carnival and the Festivals Committee was named one of the top 100 festivals in the province. So there's thousands of festivals that happen each year, so it is a bit of a feather in your cap to get that honor, so that's very nice to have. And there's some nice plaques that we have up at the complex if anyone wants to take a peek at them. A number of town departments are very involved in Winter Carnival. We have the museum that hosts the event. They do the sleigh rides as they have done for a past number of years. They've done Night on Broadway, which was a sold-out event, and from what I understand from the organizers, they started with about 50 chairs, and they brought it up to about 55 and 60 and 65, and I think around the 75 number, they had to put a sold-out sign on the door because they were at the seams, which was beautiful for a new event like that. Heritage North does the kids' movies, and I know there was well over 100 kids at some of those events, which is a great thing to do, and they were the host to the helicopter rides. At Parks and Rec, we do a number of events that aren't really us doing it, but they just happen to fall in our environment. So it might be the Rotary Hockey Tournament, it could be the Aquatic Club, it could be the Skating Carnival, Minor Hockey. So those events all go on. We have some sponsors that rent the pool and the ice so that those can be given out to the kids free of charge, which is great. For the first year, we were able to offer events at our brand new Civic Park, and they were very successful. We had the fire department do a family skate with a bonfire. That was a great night. It was a council night, of course, so I didn't get to enjoy that one. And we did our inaugural 3-on-3 tournament, which was great. We partnered with Northern College. They provided the funding for prizes, and it was a really good event on a really nice sunny day. Physical Services, once again, is very helpful. They provide some site preparation at the snow dump for the snow drags, as well as they make sure that it's safe environment for everything down that really slippery hill at Otto going to the fish derby. So lots of departments come together, and that's just our small part. The main part is the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers and all of the sponsors. So just my opportunity to say thanks to the community. It is a wonderful example of really all segments of society coming together to really, really emphasize what we can do in Kirkland Lake to get through those long winter days of February.
Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Schemeier.
Yeah, Bonnie, I just want to congratulate you. It's awesome. We're always afraid when November turns around. We say, oh, 5 months of winter, but with all the activities that was going on in town, plus then the carnival finished the 3 weeks in February, March. First thing we know, we're in April, and we went through winter, and we did pretty good this year. There's so much activities, so many people from out of town coming in, from all over, from CAP to New Liskeard, and all the activities going in, it's just amazing. I think they sold 550 tickets for the ice fishing day. It's unbelievable. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? I mean, what else is to say? I mean, what the Festivals Committee does, and of course our own staff, you know, it's wonderful that, that we're so cooperative. I mean, it makes, you know, that aspect of our community so robust. I mean, you know, somebody was pointing it out to me the other day, some of the stuff that we have here. And, you know, the fact that we have the Festivals Committee and those two huge festivals just really puts our community over the top. So hats off to both you, Bonnie, and our staff, but also very much to the Festivals Committee, so thanks. Okay. Director of Economic Development and Tourism, Wilfred.
I was going to ask my colleague to come up, but she avoided eye contact, so I guess not. I'm asking for a resolution from council to support an application to the Rural Economic Development Program. It's a program that is run by the Ministry of Rural Affairs, Agriculture. They have an acronym that's quite large. They don't come out with it very often. There'll be 2 intakes this year. One is in March 31st and the other one will be in September. The project that I'm proposing addresses our ability to promote and attract investment, particularly that would be industrial, mixed-use, commercial. We have roughly 16 acres left at Archer Drive, and that's fine for some of the smaller projects, but Ashley and I have been dealing with one company, and you know, the starting bid is 30,000 square feet plus a large turnaround area for trucks and vans and everything else. Well, it's tough. So I think that we need to look a little bit into the future and see what other areas are there, public and private, what has to be done to bring them up to a certain standard. I'm not advocating spending any money on that. I just want to know get the knowledge. Take a look at community improvement plan. Most of the other communities do have some incentives in place to assist the business in getting up and getting going. It doesn't mean you have to do the same thing, but what are those options? How do we bring them forward? What's the implications for the community? Do we want to do it? Would it be based on a geographical location? Would it be based on a sector? It's all things that we would be bringing back with research to council for its consideration. Third part of it would be for marketing. Being at PDAC, it was obvious that we need to have probably a little bit stronger outreach program than one guy telling a story. I like to work with the Chamber of Commerce on that, profiling local businesses, ones that can do activities or perhaps looking at new products and services. So we do have that available and we can put it out. The program itself, I think the maximum is $100,000. We would ask, obviously, for the maximum $100,000. It's 50% funding, so we would be responsible for 50%. I have spoken to FedNor, and there's a good chance that they will come in, reducing our costs down to 10%. And I'm working on the application now. If I get it in, certainly I'll let you know. If not, I may bring it back again in September.
Okay, comments or questions? Councillor Mino?
Yeah, well, this is good. I mean, this is what we've been sort of shooting for the last couple of councils. So hopefully we get through with the funding, because 10% of that amount is not very much to us, but it certainly has a lot of benefits to it. My question was just, can you just maybe speak on the brand development, like where we're going with that?
Well, when I speak of brand, I always want to distinguish. There's community brand, corporate brand. What's your brand out on the street when you're trying to compete with other municipalities? And that's kind of an investment brand. It's not necessarily all three the same thing, but we want to try to find a theme that appeals to the community, to the corporation, and still has a hook that others will respond to. And that I want to put that into this project because I think it will be governing us probably for the next 5 to 10 years. And I think it's a good spot to put it in. That's everything from logo to slogan to how do you, use of colors, who's your key audience that you want to hit with that particular brand, how do you manipulate it so that it can be used across different mediums? That's basically what I'm looking at.
It'd be nice to tie that in with the 100th anniversary,
Yes, actually,
the vehicle that threw it anyways.
yes, and what I can't speak, but we will be bringing forward too is to modify corporate collateral material so that it does carry the logo from the 100th anniversary. I want to have a couple of ideas to bring forward to council first.
And just from, like, are we still competing with this tax-free zones? Is that,
Not so much tax-free zones, but a mix of incentives that could be anywhere from a tax holiday of 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, up to 10, to no tipping fees, no user development charges. There's a whole range of different tools that municipalities are using. I think it's just good sense to see what they are and how applicable they are to us. Again, I'm not bringing it forward and saying this is what we should be doing. I'm bringing it forward and saying here's your options.
so we will be competitive?
Ideally, we'd be a little bit more competitive than we are now.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Kiley?
Yes, Wolf, I fully support this program, as Councillor Mino was saying. This is a great opportunity for us without having to put out too many dollars, especially if we get some FedNor assistance. Well worth it, and I think a good bang for the buck.
Thank you.
Councillor Barker?
Well, since my time starting on council, I've always been pro-economic development, and this is incredible, and I fully support this this endeavor. It's a long time coming, and I think any money that we put into this will be a great investment into our community, and I see paying off tenfold. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Just one comment, Wolf. It's always very encouraging to see our staff to be able to come up with these concepts, to get this kind of leverage on dollars, and we do this, you know, in economic development, we do it in infrastructure, we do it in, you know, so hats off, and you know, what a fantastic project to be able to do something like that with, you know, 10 cents on the dollar. So,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's moved by Councillor Kiley and seconded by Councillor Barker that council supports an application for funding to the KL Investment Readiness Project under the Rural Economic Development Program.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Item 6.5, Director of Physical Services. I think Ashley is going to speak to this.
Hello, everybody. Okay, so my first report to you guys is in regards to a request to purchase 32 Dixon Avenue from Mrs. Bonnie Krawetz. She's actually been leasing the property for about, I'd say, 7 or 8 years now. And she has looked at purchasing it a couple of years ago, but ran into some financial difficulties. So she's back now, and has proposed an offer of $1,500. We did counter offer at $2,000. So she's comfortable with proceeding with the $2,000 mark. The property itself has a large rock formation which drops steeply in the middle of the property, so it is pretty hard to develop an actual house on it. She is utilizing the property right now because she was leasing it. She has a porch that extends off of the 32 Dixon property onto 34 Dixon. So her intent is to purchase the property and then proceed with rehabilitating the porch on that property once she owns it. So as part of the decision to, or I guess my recommendation to go ahead with this sale is to have the properties deemed together so that we're dealing with one property. So there would be a deeming bylaw that accompanies the sale as part of the closing. Is there any questions?
Any questions or comments? No? Councillor Kiley?
Yes, Ashley. See, you're recommending the $2,000 counter offer. Have there been other similar type properties, and was 2,000?
Yeah, so the other properties, like when we're adding land to adjacent properties, I'm noticing sort of a trend in terms of how much we're approving the dollar figure for. So it's typically around the I'd say 70 cents to 80 cents per square foot, depending on what the property looks like. when you're adding land. So if you're buying a vacant piece of land that's developable and ready to go, then we're usually a little bit steeper with our prices. But when we're adding land, like a laneway or a property that's adjacent to, and they're only gonna use it for accessory purposes, we typically see that price being around the 70 to 80 cents. You're welcome.
Counselor Mino.
Ashley, the neighbors, the abutting neighbors, they're aware of this sale and they're not objecting to it?
No objecting, but we did provide notice that we were planning to sell, so we haven't heard anything.
So they're aware.
Yeah, typically we only really notify neighboring properties when it's a laneway in between, not generally full property. So I didn't make an effort to actually go out and reach out.
So
to that.
no neighbor would be sort of contesting this
No, I mean,
because they
she's
might
been
want it
using the
to?
property for 10 years,
Okay,
so,
So there's a pre-existing lease, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, she's just purchasing it rather than leasing it at this point now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? You want to read the, it's a bylaw. Okay, so that'll come up later. All right, next item, Ashley.
Yeah, so the second item, and bear with me because garbage is recently new to my job profile. So I brought to Rick Charbonneau and Jenna McNaughton with me in case you did have some questions tonight. This is basically just to provide you with an update of our open house that we had last Thursday. Jenna and Rick were both in attendance as well as myself. Pat Kiley was there from the 2 to 4 o'clock session. We did get a pretty good turnout for public meetings. I've done a few of these so far, and you know what? When I get 12 people coming out to each meeting, I'm pretty impressed. They didn't have a lot of great things to say about it, but that's good. Good feedback. You know, at least we have something to work with. We're going to be able to take those recommendations and those concerns and really try and come up with some good recommendations for you all. At this point, their biggest one was to hold a committee of the whole meeting, which would be like a public meeting with council. They're really wanting to sit down with council and have a look at this whole process, slow the process down, get a really good grasp of what exactly staff are looking for, why we're pushing the way we are, why council is deciding things the way they are, you know, what the challenges are so we can understand that their side of things as well and come up with something that's going to work for all of us. So that's basically what they wanted me to report back to you guys today was, can we schedule a committee of the whole meeting with you guys to be able to have this open discussion? As part of that, it's my full intent to bring everything back regarding this process because I feel like it has been a little bit up and down. So just to give you guys a brief update on where it started, why it started, how we got to where we are, and everybody's on the same page when we do this public meeting. So again, if you have any questions in terms of the things that the concerns they raised related to waste management, I can certainly talk to you briefly about what their issues were, or I can have Jenna and Rick talk to them if I happen to steer off course.
Okay, any questions or comments? Oh, Councillor Barker and then Councillor Roman.
I'd really like having them come and
Yeah.
having an open house, or a committee of the whole meeting and hearing from them directly on their concerns. I think it's a valuable tool. We should be taking advantage of it, so I fully support that.
Sure.
Councillor Roman?
Yes, I'll just echo Councillor Barker's comments. I'm certainly in favor of a public meeting to discuss this issue.
Just, Councillor Kiley first, go ahead.
Yeah, I think when we first talked about commercial industrial waste management, we agreed to extend the existing program for 6 months, which is probably up right now.
It's still extended. So at this point, we've extended it till June because we haven't made any decisions on how we're dealing
I'm
with
just
it.
wondering if June is going to be enough time,
It
whether
may need
it
to be
should be
extended.
6 months from now. Because by the time we have the town hall meeting and put anything in place, it's gonna take 6 months.
Mhm.
That's my suggestion anyway. It was certainly an eye-opener.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. But there are some real concerns out there, and I think council as a whole has to hear it. We need to support our local businesses and industrial and commercial, so it'd be well worthwhile.
Yeah, they did raise some very legitimate concerns, so it was very valuable.
Oh, Councillor Mino.
Ashley, like, in your report here, there's about 7 or 8 concerns there. Are you gonna put a price tag to that and give us a sense of what we're looking at?
Yeah, so I think as part of what I'm planning on doing is giving us a few, maybe like 2-3 weeks to really look at and analyze each of the issues that were raised. These are just some of them. There was a lot
Right.
that we had full 2-hour meetings with these individuals, so there was a lot to take in. And to come up with alternatives, like there are some off the top of my head that I could say, you know, that's a great, you know, we've found some solutions to some of these issues, but I don't feel comfortable addressing them right now at this point because they do have cost values associated with them. So we really need to have those discussions with them to see whether that will work, and are you guys satisfied with that? And yes, I will bring cost factors into the game as well as part of
Excellent,
that.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to, you know, that was my concern when I suggested, you know, extending this out, because I knew, or I sensed that, you know, that this would be a bit of an upset to the commercial sector. I'm certainly comfortable extending it out to a year, whatever it takes to get this right. The granular comments, Ashley, can we get a copy of that before this meeting, just so we can, because I would have loved to be there, but last week was March break and I was out of town. But I would really like to hear some of the granular comments.
It's my full intent to have the minutes circulated to council by the end of this week.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, Councillor Chamard.
Actually, for people who have 5 or 6, 7 apartments, I know one guy was talking to me. He says most apartment is good. He has a couple problems with a couple of them. Can we try to help him on those?
You need to.
I know there's rules, all this, but
Yeah.
sometime the rules were put there to start, and we said we'll
We'll reconsider them.
Yeah.
It's certainly
So,
something that can be
like
reconsidered.
if we extend for now a year, that means this guy's stuck there for 1 more year without.
So, I'm not sure, and Jenna could clarify about high residential versus commercial, but if commercial or industrial are asking for, like, they're getting what they need. So if they need us to pick up their entire shed, we're picking up their entire shed. We're accommodating their needs. If somebody comes to me and says, I'm gonna take an extra container, I'm saying, okay, but you may start to get charged for this in June or whenever we decide to finally make that call.
Okay, so right now you're telling me.
Right now, it's kind of,
So they
as
could-
long as we have control over.
So they could get a container right now with no charge?
Probably, right, Jenna? I think that's what we've been doing for commercial.
I'm talking.
For high residential, high density?
We haven't had any agreements on that.
Okay,
Have no direction as to whether we can do that.
okay. So, what are they getting right now? They're getting,
One for 2, I think.
for anything over 7 though, it's different. It's one for,
Every 7 after.
so,
One for the first 3, one for the next 3, and then one for every 7 after that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they have the ability, because they're multi-res, they can go with a 32-gallon versus a 65. So you can split it in half, so everybody can have their own bin versus having one bin and share it. But then giving extra bins, we can talk about it.
Okay, yeah, can you
Get
look
them
in?
to get a hold of us.
Okay, I will.
That's
tell
the
them.
best way to deal with it, and
Yeah.
then we'll have the conversations with them.
Okay, thanks, Ashley.
Yeah.
Councillor Mino?
I recall at a meeting, I believe Mark told us that he would entertain residential and multi-res for any further consideration while we decide this. So I think we should be lenient and more, you know,
Yep.
accommodating for these people who have these complaints, because obviously that's the feedback we're getting now. So I would certainly recommend, through a direction if that is, to certainly entertain those
sure.
requests.
Join?
You can give direction if you like right now, but is that not sort of what you were doing?
I'm remembering a few instances where if somebody comes and says they're concerned, I typically would give the bin, and then we'd say that there's an agreement likely coming. We haven't formalized the decisions, so once the decisions are made, we may be back in touch with you to either take away the bin or charge you. Yeah.
Right, yeah, so we're bridging it from now till we get this all cleaned up.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions then? All right, you're done, Ashley.
Thank
Oh,
you.
we got a resolution?
Resolution,
Okay, we got a
yes.
resolution, hang on.
It's moved by Councillor Barker, seconded by Councillor Kiley. The council directs the planning department to slow down the process of commercial waste management fees and arrange a committee of the whole meeting for public participation.
All in favor?
Thank you so much.
Okay, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws.
It's moved by Counselor Kiley, seconded by Counselor Barker, that bylaw 17-029, being a bylaw to authorize mayor and clerk to execute all documents related to the sale of 32 Dixon Avenue to Bonnie Crowetz, be read a first, second, and third time, enacted and passed.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, notices of motion. Anybody? Okay, confirmation bylaw.
It's moved by Counselor Barker, seconded by Counselor Kiley, that bylaw 17-029, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held March 21st, 2017, be read a first, second, third time, enacted and passed.
All in favor? Thank you. Councillor reports. Shamayer.
Yeah, somebody called me yesterday, they had a problem with the water, it was, early in the morning. So he called the town, 10 minutes later, the employee shows up, and 35 minutes later it was fixed. He was so amazed by how efficient it was done, and he just wanted me to tell you that he was so happy about this. We hear lots of complaints, but there's a lot of good stories too. Thanks Nancy for this. It was on Kirkpatrick Street, so I don't know if that tells you anything, but that's where it was. It was amazing. It was his word.
Great, thank you. Any other councillors' reports? Okay, I just want to mention one thing. One of our staff has reached a particular milestone. Bonnie has has been awarded the status of Certified Municipal Manager 3 level, which is the highest level awarded by the Ontario Municipal Management Institute. So congratulations, Bonnie. Well done. Okay, additional information, seeing none, so we'll move to the adjournment.
It's moved by Counselor Kiley, seconded by Counselor Barker, that council adjourns its regular meeting of March 21st, 2017 to a meeting of finance.
All in favor? Thank you. Alrighty.